Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, and we have another special show, but this is particularly special because we have Dennis Mikula from Mikula Contracting, Inc., who won our New Jersey Family Business of the Year Award for 2020 for businesses under 10 million. Dennis, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Caldwell, and thank you for having me today.
Well, good. Your story was really amazing, and for those that don't know, every year we have our New Jersey Family Business of the Year Awards. This year was our 28th. 28 years of incredible family businesses. We did it virtually last Wednesday, and we surprised 3 companies who were the winners. And Mikula Contracting, really because of your incredible business, you know, your interview, how you give back to the community and work with your employees. So congratulations, Dennis. So tell me about Mikula Contracting, Inc. What do you folks do?
So we are an excavating and demolition contractor for both residential and commercial clients. So for us, anything from site clearings to demolitions to tank removals, pool removals, drainage situations. So everything that heavy equipment can do, we can handle.
Interesting. I wish I had. I was the head of school at the Village Charter School in Trenton, New Jersey. And there were a whole bunch of old buildings that we wanted to be torn down. And so, dealing with a lot of the environmental regulations and other things, which I guess you guys deal with in New Jersey, how do you deal with that? I mean, you must know all the regs and rules and what you can tear down and what you can't.
Many years of experience. In New Jersey, the environmental regulations really started in the 1980s, as far as, when my father was, day-to-day operations, a lot of those regulations were coming in, and we worked closely with a lot of environmental consultants throughout the state of New Jersey for the site cleanups and handle the regulatory care.
And so now your dad started, how did the business get started in the first place? What was going on?
So the business got started in 1946 by my grandfather.
Wow.
So he started, a little shortly after World War II. He started, I say he started with a hand shovel and a pickup truck. He started digging, excavation companies, started digging foundations. They started a lot of even the tank removal. The tanks were installed by him that were removing, X amount of years later. It was his vision to start an excavation, a land clearing property, and that's something, with New Jersey, with the amount of land back then, everybody was, that's where housing development started.
Right.
That's where, a lot of the properties that are today, were farmland back in New Jersey, and there's a lot of open areas. So there, that's where he began with the excavation end of it, and that kind of, grew through the years. We started to change, as the land clearing, we started doing more demolition work as everything was being built. And then, like I was saying, and even in the 80s, environmental issues were arising. We were doing a lot of tank removals for gas stations, residential houses, and that kind of grew even to today, where we're doing a lot of site remediation. So again, like I mentioned, we work for a lot of environmental consultants and engineering firms where we're, providing excavation services to check out, the soil. We're removing contaminated material and getting it set to be either built or cleaned up.
Wow. So Dennis, tell me about your background. Where did you grow up, and where did you go to school, and how did you get involved with the business?
Sure. Well, grew up in Clifton, New Jersey. Went to Clifton High School. I've been involved, I guess, to say, since I could walk. I grew up. My sandbox, like all the kids had sandboxes. Mine was our shop, our yard. So when I was growing up, I always had a fascination for heavy equipments, like a lot of kids do. And I learned at a really young age. I think 4.5 years old was the first time I actually learned how to operate a hydraulic excavator.
Really? Wow.
When I was just turned 5 years old, I demonstrated how to run a new hydraulic excavator at Foley Machinery, which is the Caterpillar dealer in New Jersey, at their 25th anniversary at that time. Since then, I've been back for their 50th and on. So I kind of grew up in the business that way. My summer jobs were being a laborer, working on tank removal sites and working on, understanding, everything that went into the business, on the weekends, as far as cleaning up our yard, our equipment. So from that firsthand. And I went to college at Montclair State,
Wonderful.
which was local, it was 5 minutes away from our office. So my freshman year, we started putting in, introducing, as I was learning it, we were introducing computers into our business, whether it was the accounting functions or scheduling, and kind of took off that way. It's something that just kind of continued to grow for us as far as, using technology. I guess, every generation, my grandfather starting, back in 1946 with the beginning stages of the excavation. My father, and taking, the reins in the 80s with the environmental regulations. And then as I got more and more involved, the 90s up through today, as far as the technology. So it's really interesting through the generations, how every generation kind of has their niche, what we've added, hopefully, added positively to the business.
Well, one of the things that I love about family businesses is how young people start in the business. They're sweeping floors now hydraulic lifts at 40. That's unusual. And that makes you love the business more. And one of the things that I really liked, and I know with your interview, is you clearly love this business. You love this business. So right after college, did you work anywhere else, or have you always worked for the business?
I've always worked for the business. A little bit about my background: I'm also a football coach.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I've been a head high school football coach. I worked at college full time for two years back in 2004, 2005. I coached out at Hofstra University as a full time football coach. That's the only time I left the business as a full time member through those years, but I was still heavily involved. And then I came back and. I think I've learned a lot from the coaching aspect.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I think there's such a unique synergy between coaching and running a business. There's so much, because everything comes down to people. And just like you lose a football game, you learn more from that loss sometimes than you do any win that you ever could have. And we look at that same. We don't look at it as losses in business. We look at it as opportunities to improve. Whether it's a job or something that we're trying to implement, how you could always learn. And I think my coaching background has allowed me to get up, after the game, take a look at it, reevaluate, continue to move forward. So it's definitely exciting. I look at it as opportunities. They're not wins and losses. Just every day is another opportunity to improve or increase whatever you're trying to do.
Well, see, I think that I love the sports, and I'm a tennis guy, so I'm the one-on-one sport. So so now where are you coaching now?
I'm actually coaching at Keene University.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Right now, yep.
Now, as an assistant coach, or
as an assistant coach? Yeah.
Yeah. And
I've been this year, obviously with COVID, the program is down right now.
Right.
But I've been there. But I've coached all over the state. I've coached at Del Barton School. I've coached at Don Bosco Prep. I've coached back at Clifton. Coached at Kennedy High School in Patterson.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Years ago, I was a head coach at Don Bosco Tech and Bailey Ellard in Madison. Both schools are no longer with us anymore. But it was a great experience running programs outside of your own business. I always advise family business owners to do something outside of your own business to get a different perspective.
Right.
I think sometimes, when you grow up in a family business atmosphere, and we all joke about it, that's how we've done things. When you get a different perspective of running a different program, when you get a different perspective of working with different people, you can add so much more, which is, I think it's also important, to be as, committees, boards, whatever you can do to bring influence outside of the family back in. So I use my coaching. I've been doing it for over almost 25 years now. I love every second of it. and I use it because I think I could relate on both aspects, business to coaching, coaching to business. It's really helped both sides.
Well, but you also, I mean, these are some real football schools. I mean, these are schools that have, state championship level programs, right? I mean, have you won state championships?
Yes, the storied histories on a lot of schools I've coached with there. It's so you're learning from what success they've had, and you're just hoping that you could try and add to that success. Same thing, with the university right now and coaching there. It's a great opportunity. The same thing to kind of, everything comes down to dealing with relationships and people. Whether it's a family business or coaching. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to win every job. You're not going to make every employee. Every coach that comes through there, there's always different circumstances. And I think for me in my career, it's been actually an honor to be able to coach as many kids as I have, because hopefully you can make that impact.
Have any of the kids become employees? Any of your former football players?
We have had a fair share of employees for summer jobs,
right,
throughout the years, and as far as after their senior year, once they're 18 and they're able to work in our businesses, they get some good. They're out there as laborers, and they're looking forward sometimes for their college to start. But they all come back, and a lot of them come back and say that working during the summer, and whether it's working on a site development, a cleanup,
right,
instills work ethic sometimes that might not have been available to them. Just going from school right into a 4-year university or beyond. And a lot of them will come back in between, because I think it's just a good way of if you have good work ethic, whether you're sweeping, whether you're out on a construction site, whether you're a football player, a coach, it's going to carry over.
It's going to carry. Now, Dennis, are you a writer? Do you do much writing? Because I can see the book. Now, I've written a few books. I see the book Family Business and Football, perfect together. So
sounds good. So we can co-write this.
Yeah, we'll co-write it, because again, I'm working, because the lessons of sports are so powerful, because you work with different people. You have to motivate people differently, and in football in particular, because some people want you to yell at them, other people don't respond to that. And so, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and build on that discussion. And I want to hear a little more about employees. How you work with employees and how you develop them and grow and treat them like family. So we'll be right back to Family Business World in a sec.
I'm your personal networking concierge, and I host a show on RVN TV called Connect to Success, where I interview power networkers in the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. So join me every week, 12:30 on Thursdays during your lunch break, and now on Fridays at 9 and 9:30 p.m. We'll see you next week.
This plus this equals this plus this and this. Don't drink and drive.
What makes a temple owl? Meet Stella. She's wise, fierce, and she's not alone. Temple University, where owls call home. We are the cherry and white. The city is our classroom, and we lead the rush hour, making our mark on every field around the world. A world without Temple, well, that's like the sky without the North Star. Temple, never stopping.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to Family Business World. I'm Dr. Dale Caldwell. We are talking to Dennis Mikula from Mikula Contracting, one of our Family Businesses of the Year award winners in 2020. during the break, we were talking about football and the relationship with family and just how you have to motivate people in very, very different ways. And so, now how many employees do you work with? I know some on and off, part-time, full-time. How many employees does Mikula Contracting work with?
We're currently around, we're a little under 20 right now.
Okay, nice. Okay, good, good. And you have some part-time too, and as part of that?
We do. Yes, we do.
Yeah. And so how, just seeing how you speak and or as a coach, how do you treat employees? What kind of things do you do with your employees to keep them motivated?
I think the number one thing, and again, I learned this lesson a long time ago from my father, is the employees have the ability to make decisions on their own. I think that's the number one thing you can do. You can't be on every job site. You can't be on every project. And if you have the ability to have ownership, and by ownership meaning you can make decisions without having to check in with your managers or above all the time, I think it's the best thing. It's there's that ownership, there's a trust, there's a respect.
Well, how do you train that?
Everyone.
But not everybody has that. So what do you do to kind of train those folks that when they start may not have that confidence, but and you may just do some things intuitively. But how do you help people develop?
I think the number one thing is experience. No matter no matter what the field is, no matter what the business is, it's just experience, understanding when you're on the site for the first time. There's a lot to take. It's going fast for you. When you're on a site, 2, 3, and then it becomes 20 times, 30 times. You see how different people work, and I truly believe that you kind of come into your own. The number one thing that we tell our employees and it's told is safety's number one, and especially in our industry. You're dealing with heavy equipment, trucks. You're dealing with a lot of things that can go wrong on a daily basis. If at any time if a site is not safe, they're shutting everything down. They have the absolute authority. They don't have to check it. That is on. Again, that's the built-in ownership that everybody has. When they're on the site, they're running that site. So I think that's important, and to make the decisions, to have our employees understand that when they, come back to the office, if they say this site was not safe, that discussion's over. We're not saying you should have done this or this. That's it. If you, at any point, if you do not feel safe on the site, they have the 100% ability to shut that down. So I think that you asked the question, and I think a lot of it, the other part of it, how does that happen? It happens with experience. We're very fortunate. Our employees have, and family and non-family members, we have a very long tenure, and you and I were talking about that. That is important. That's what experience. So the employees that have been there for a very long time take everybody under their wings and kind of show them, hey, this is how we do things. But sometimes, anybody could have a suggestion how to improve anything. And I think the listening and the openness, and, we get together when somebody's on the site, you could get together, put the best idea on how to plan of attack something and then go after it. It's never, this is how we're going to do it. If somebody has an idea, it's an open-minded, listen, it's whether it's out on the site, whether it's in the office, we sit around and say, hey, here's a situation that came up. Let's discuss the ideas. I say this in football and business all the time. We know what the issue is. What's the solution to it?
Right.
We know we're struggling with this. How are we going to handle it? And I think that's important. To always have to have the open door, to have people come into your office, to pick up the phone and say, I have a situation here. How are we going to handle it?
Right, and that makes it interesting. So let's go back a little bit to your grandfather and your father. And so obviously, I think, I forget the numbers, it's like 14% make it to the third generation, or even less than that. So your grandfather obviously set it up so your dad. Now did your dad want to work in the business, or how was that relationship, your dad and grandfather?
My father knew from when he was a kid that he loved the equipment. I mean, he's nonstop. He's as enthusiastic today as he was, I believe, when he started.
Right.
It's we are very fortunate to have him. And like I said, from God knows how, from 5 years old through now, just going every day.
What's his role now? So is he the CEO now still, or?
Yeah, he's the president. He's, as far as he's out there, on the job sites and checking and everything, and
Love
it's
it.
great. The thing that works out well is we all have, because with the amount of family in the business, we all have our own roles. I think that's, so important, and that's a whole discussion of. There's never, he handles the day-to-day operations, the scheduling. He handles everything. If I'm handling the business development, the finances, accounting, we're handling that. I have 2 uncles and a brother who are out handling the site. They're handling the sites right now.
So it's working. It really works well. So it sounds like it really works seamlessly. Now, do you have kids? Is there another generation that's prepping to come in?
I have a 7-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And she's already, got to sit on a large excavator with my brother and my uncle in the yard, and she loves it just like any other. She has a little desk in my office that she'll come in on the weekends, and she'll tidy it up and do stuff. So it's she lets everybody know when she's there, she's the boss. So it's great.
That's right. She's already assuming. And it is interesting more and more with a lot of the changing norms that more and more daughters are now taking over the business, that the family business used to be just the dad to the son to the, and so that, which is nice, I think. And so it's really been a good mix. Do you have a number of women working in the company, or?
Our office manager has been there. We'll go back to the beginning. My grandfather and my grandmother was heavily involved. First, actually, she's the one I took. From when I took the books where everything was written out, went to the computer. Everything was handwritten with the daily journals. And we still have. Every once in a while we'll go back in our files from these. We do have files from nearly 75 years.
Wow.
So we'll go, from the first jobs. It's really interesting. And you go back and you just open up a book, and it kind of brings you back in time. It brings me back to when I was younger, and I was going over, and she was writing in the daily journals and cutting the payroll checks and everything. And I don't know. You go back in the archives sometimes, and like I said, it just kind of hits you. You can go back to that time. So like I said, my grandmother's heavily involved, and we've like I said, that's the one thing, as far as. You're speaking that, for women and my daughter, like the opportunity, like if she wanted to, work in the family business, it's there for her. If she wants to go out and build her own path in this world, it's there for her. I was afforded that same, from my father. A lot of sons go right into the family business. I also, like I said, had a passion for coaching. So when I was younger, I had the ability to be a full-time coach. But as much as I enjoyed that, I enjoyed, like, when I came back after 2 years, what I loved was the family. When you're, being around family, trying, everything you have your name on the business.
Right.
So everything you do is a reflection. And to build that to where it is, it's not just, and by family, I don't mean our immediate family. I mean everybody in the business. Right. It's so important, for us to build the best possible business. The tenure of the employees is what I'm most proud of for our business. And, it's not revenue, it's not sales, it's not development. That our employees, we have such a long tenure for everybody that, has been with us from day one.
Well, and that's one of the unique, the unique things about family businesses is that the long-term tenure, that family members, once they've kind of proven themselves, they're treated like family. Now, do you have a family council or an advisory board, or, have you, I teach family business management at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and one of the best practices we see is having some kind of family council to really think strategically. Do you have that kind of board or family meetings, or how does that work?
We do not have an official family council or board, but I can tell you that I am on the phone all day, depending on, again, what comes up and what solution we're looking for. I've built such a network of, I want to say friends, almost family members, that I could pick up the phone and say, have you come across this yet?
And get some good advice,
have you seen something different? And, this is, actually talking with Sally Glick the other day, we were talking about exactly this conversation about an advisory board and a council. So this is the second time, within a week, So I think we might be putting together one pretty soon. Because, nothing official, but I think it's so important, again, whether it's an official where you meet, quarterly or, bi-yearly or whatever it is, but I think it's important to be able to have that network out there and I'm not the only one. And by me, meaning my role in the position that has an issue that comes up among all family businesses, so it'd be a great, to pick up the phone and have the ability to reach out to somebody or a group of, advisors and say, hey, listen, have you come across this? How would you handle this?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a paid group. It can be a group that you pay for dinner and you go out and advise, because what happens, and obviously I do a lot of consulting myself, is that you get so into the business. You're working on the day-to-day, you're trying to make things happen, and sometimes an outside person can say, have you thought about this? Or I heard this new, technology application may be applicable. And you say, that's a great idea. And so, what I've done is a lot of work with strategic planning for businesses. And a lot of times they'll do it internally, but you need that outside perspective. And when people have brought in, and I don't have to, and in fact, in some ways, it's best that I don't know much about the business, because then I come in and I don't know what not to say. And I said, well, have you tried this? And so those are some things that I think, all businesses should have, formal or informal. But you guys are doing really well. So now in the pandemic, how's business? How are you doing? Are you growing? Are you staying the same? Or has it been a real challenge?
The challenge was like everybody else in the beginning. We did not, in March when decisions were being made, we didn't know where we would be as far as we'd be able to open up what we were able to do. So, the first thing, when we sat down, we made the decision to, number one, everybody's safety, no matter what was, what ruling was going to come out, that we were going to make sure that, the health of our employees, that we're going to keep separation because as everything was hitting. Once construction in our industry was essential, we were able to finish projects we already started again. So some of the demolitions we were working on, site excavations that were still open, we were able. Fortunate for us, our employees were in their own piece of equipment. Right. So they're in that. They're driving their own trucks. Right. We had to we couldn't travel in pairs to jobs anymore, so we made some adjustments. But they were socially distant. You're able to really do the social distance, and we were absolutely able to do that. That's fantastic. Well, Dennis, this 30 minutes goes by so quickly. We're at the end of the session. First, I want to congratulate you again. For anyone, our YouTube channel is the Rothman Institute of Entrepreneurship. That's our YouTube channel. We have our video of the our annual award-winning session. And Mikula Contracting, the under 10 million winners. Just please give the best to everyone there. And we're hoping to work with you more closely in the future, Dennis. But thanks for the great interview. And have a great day. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and we really look forward to continuing our friendship and working with you for a very long time. So thank you very much, Dr. Caldwell. Thank you, and I want to thank everyone for watching this episode of Family Business World. Tune in and see us next week for the next issue of Family Business World. Take care. Bye-bye.